On April 5th, 2021, I published a video called Ranking the Persona Games. This was a video where I briefly shared my opinions on the mainline games in the Shin Megami Tensei spin-off series and ranked them in order from which one I like, from least to the best. For some reason, this video is quite popular for one of my older creations, and this actually really ticks me off because I think this video is 100% pure, absolute, hot, flaming garbage. I don't think it's my worst video out there, but when I made it, I was basically uploading a video every 1 or 2 days, so the quality of it just doesn't even compare to what I'm making at the moment. So due to the fact that some people are still watching these videos for some bloody reason, and totally not the fact that the video I had planned to release next is taking way more time than I anticipated, it's time for Ranking the Persona Games Remake Edition. Now in my original video I only included the mainline Persona games, but this time I'm going all out and going to rank every single Persona game except the mobile games because I ain't going to Japan to track down some random phone with Persona 4 colors on it. Mate, I can see all the colors in Persona 4 anyway. But before we get into things real quick, I want everybody to keep in mind that this is an opinionated video and everything I say here is subjective to my taste. In saying that though, I also think it's important to know what you guys think because you're sitting here listening to me ramble on about what I like, so I should return the favor by reading what you think in the comment section down below. And real quick, it's sellout time, so don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to support the channel. Okay, now we're all done with the icky, dirty sellout stuff, we can get into the video. Megami Imbunoku Persona created the beloved franchise that we all know and love today. Its release in 1996 shook the JRPG world at the time, and it even sold so well that it held the best-selling Persona title during the first week. Records say that 5 times fast, until the release of Persona 5. But that's just it. It shook the JRPG world. Playing the game today certainly can feel like much of a chore, and that's not to say entirely that this game is bad, it's just tedious. Persona has you take on the role of boy with earring? Wait, really? You're the only protagonist in the entire series without an official name. Man, that must suck. First being forgotten, then also having no name, and well, anyway, we walk through his shoes to sleuth out what's going on with our friends after they start playing this weird occult game to summon these ghost-like things, you know, normal high school things. And also stop these demons that randomly appear in town not too long after they start playing this game. It's just a coincidence, guys. It's just a coincidence. There are multiple routes you can take throughout the story, much like other Mega 10 games, which I do really enjoy because it does allow for replayability, and one thing that this game does really well when compared to the other games in the series is the impact of the choices that you make throughout the game are felt a lot more. So the story is pretty decent, but for me personally, this doesn't take away from the other part of the game. You'll probably find that in this list for me, to be able to call something great, it has to tick a lot of boxes. So story is unable to carry the gameplay, and this is where the game falters for me. At the end of the day, this game is old and JRPGs have come a long way from the original Persona, where nowadays it's really easy to pick up and play the game. And this game, well, it just isn't. The negotiation system is fairly confusing, being able to summon and recruit personas is really tedious and difficult to approach, and the encounter rate is a little too high for the game to flow well for me, as it constantly feels like I'm stopping and starting all of the time. The game has just aged, and I think that modern adaptations of the genre have really not allowed me to enjoy it like I might have if I was able to play it when it came out. But unfortunately, I don't live in the US, and I was born 3 years later, so that wouldn't have happened anyway. While this game does sit at the bottom of the list for me, I do have to say the soundtrack is amazing, and it even has my favorite song in the entire Mega 10 franchise in it, which is Snow Queen arranged version. It's a banger, just trust me guys, okay? So I can say that this game really does have some hidden gems in it. Persona Q2 was a game. Okay, I have more to say about it than that. Persona Q2 was a game I was really excited for, especially since it was one of the last games on the 3DS which marked the end of an era. It had so much going for it after the success of the first title and through the advertising for the game, but then it just fell flat. This is the only game on the list that I actually haven't sat through and finished, so that should say a lot, but in case it doesn't, this game is just a grind fest with no real payoff. I don't mind a good grind, heck, I'm a huge trophy hunter on PlayStation, I've played games for way longer than most people should have, but the payoff there is usually me popping off and obtaining the platinum, and here, there just wasn't really anything. The promise that Atlus had of shenanigans and great moments between the casts of the latter 3 Persona titles was definitely delivered, but this wasn't enough to get through everything. I know some of you guys may be thinking, haha Resident, just get good, but I play competitive video games and that's actually my main source of income, so even with all of that, it's just way too much to grind through, just to be able to get to another part of a map. I think by the way I'm writing this, you guys should be able to tell that I'm actually pretty upset that this is the reality of my opinion on Persona Q2. I really liked the first game, I really liked the map mechanic, and I heavily enjoyed the story, so I was really pumped for the second title. And even with its great art style, amazing OST, and pretty well written story, I just couldn't force myself to keep on playing the game. Maybe I could go back to it in the future and lower the difficulty to see if I'm able to have fun with the game, but it's overall just too much effort for such little reward. Oh boy. This one was actually the hardest one to decide, honestly. I've literally sat here for a good 40 minutes trying to decide which title should actually go in this spot, and I'm gonna have to give it to Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, the rhythm game that's also canon to the story of the series for some reason. It is a really fun experience. I also enjoy rhythm games as well, so there's just a huge bias for them. This one I had the least fun with though, out of the 3 that they released, because the most important aspects of these games are, of course, the controls, which are really fluid and work well, but also the soundtrack. I felt like Persona 5 Dancing had the weakest soundtrack of the dancing titles, so I really just played the game, got the platinum, and moved on to whatever I wanted to play next. I know this segment is short, but I really feel like I can't say much else about, a rhythm game, unless you want to hear me talk about how the button pressing is absolutely exquisite. So we're going to take a look at the next game on the list. Persona Q marked Persona's entry to Nintendo systems, and for a good reason as well. The game simply just wouldn't work on any other one. This game was a crossover of not only the casts of Persona 3 and 4, but also of the Persona series and another one of Atlus's titles, Etrian Odyssey, with the gameplay of the two being fused. This game takes place sometime during each cast's respective games, and has them randomly taken to a weird world school festival, where they not only meet each other, but 2 teenagers who live in this strange dimension. This festival boasts a series of classrooms with various attractions that possess deadly and dangerous creatures that the students of Yasagami High and Gekkokan High must team up to defeat in order to find a way back to their world. Much like Persona Q2, this game has really great interaction between the 2 casts that are very entertaining and sometimes just downright hilarious. Unlike the sequel, however, I did feel the gameplay flowed a lot better in this title, as the pacing was fairly consistent throughout the game. That, or maybe Naoto was a little bit too overpowered, and maybe it was just carrying me and I was cruising through the game because I could just insta-kill everything. The story is really satisfying as you go through the game, and it really kept me engaged with playing it, even if I was boggled down with university work while I was playing it. I also really enjoyed the visuals and the soundtrack because they really suited the atmosphere and theme that they were going for within the title. Though I really did enjoy this game, overall I found some stronger enemies that were placed with the intention of coming back to the stages later when you were stronger, were quite annoying to accidentally run into and disrupted my game state, especially when saving isn't accessible all of the time. Sometimes the results of accidentally running into these enemies would cause me to put the game down for a week due to all the progress that I lost, because I'm a little grumpy guts and I was just like, I don't want to do this again. Ugh, stupid, boring. Game sucks. But, overall, I really enjoyed this game, but I had mild annoyances with it, which ultimately puts it lower on the list. Alright guys, get your rocks ready. This is the one I am always scared of talking about because I can already feel the wrath of 10,000 fanboys breathing down my neck in preparation to destroy my very existence for even possessing this opinion. While Persona 3 is a very important entry in the franchise, probably the second behind the original title, it just doesn't hit as hard as people say it does. Now, I certainly didn't play the series in order, especially since I started by playing Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 at the same time. And because I didn't, it really affects my opinions of the title. Before I went to tackle Persona 3, I had only really heard praise about it, so I was really eager to play the story of Makoto Yuki facing off against the dangers of the Dark Hour with fellow high school friends from SEAS. After playing the latter two games in the series, I couldn't wait to start my new high school journey, make new friends, and kick some shadow butt while doing so. But I never expected to be so disappointed. Of course, it's not the worst game I've played in this series, but it was a total letdown because it was mostly just hours of going through randomly generated floors. I did enjoy Persona 3, however, and I do think that the story and characters are great. Just the pacing of the game was rather clunky and often at times just didn't feel like the greatest thing to go through just for sometimes the smallest crumb of plot progression. Though that wasn't all of it. I had to make a choice. I had to choose being able to control my allies and not having to use the menu to see who is going to do what next in order to plan my move to attack. But that's not all. In order to be able to choose what my allies are able to do, I have to sacrifice the ability to roam around the map in 3D as well as my precious anime cutscenes. I couldn't take the loss of my cutscenes, so I ended up playing it on PS2, but have since played the portable version, and as it stands, I just don't like having to make those choices, because it feels as though I'm just hindering my experience no matter which one I choose, and I'll never be able to have the full one that I so desperately desire. Persona 3 overall has some bumps that it needs to iron out in order to make me enjoy the game a bit more, and maybe playing it on PS4 when it makes its way there in the near future will change how I feel about it, but I feel like it's a great story with gameplay elements that just let it down so much. In 2012, Atlus and Arc System Works would team up to create the first spin-off game in the series, Persona 4 Arena. This spin-off features the writing and music styles of the series, while also taking the artistic styling and mechanics from the BlazBlue and the Guilty Gear series from Arc System Works. I've got to hand it to them. They executed it really well. This game has you revisit Yasogami High after the events of Persona 4, where something very mysterious is happening, and it's up to the investigation team, as well as some members of SEAS, to figure out what is going on and put a stop to it. Overall, this game is presented really well between its visual novel storytelling and its art style. The combat mechanics of the game are quite solid, but as with a lot of fighting games, combos can be hard to pull off, but this game has been more approachable than some, especially seeing as there's an auto combo, and during the story, the AI aren't exactly the most intelligent things in the world. Overall, the game was really great, but I felt as though some of the combat execution was just too difficult to learn without a lot of time investment. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is just Persona 4 Arena but with more characters, so it's better. This one is a strange one, because usually I'm the kind of person who won't let the story carry the gameplay, but in the case of Persona 2, I had to. Now I'm including both Innocent Sin and Eternal Punishment in the same slot because they're essentially the same game, just couldn't fit on the same disc. Now these games suffer in similar ways that the original Persona suffers. It's hard to navigate through the systems, it can be very confusing, and the encounter rate is really high, which all of these things are very disrupting to a good gameplay experience, like I mentioned there, because it's virtually the same. The thing that Persona 2 improves on so much more is its writing and location. At first, honestly, I wasn't sold on Persona 2 initially and just wrote it off, as I had played the first game before playing this one, but the story of Tatsuya So and Maya Amano literally engaged me enough to be able to push through these rusty mechanics and finish the game. I really enjoyed my time with Persona 2, and I always questioned why I liked it more than Persona 3. Because I really do think Persona 3 clearly has the better gameplay mechanics. And I guess if I had to put it down to something, I think it's because the game's hypnotizing me, and it's put a spell on me, and help, maybe, I don't know. Or actually because I was allowed to progress through the story more naturally than the split between Tartarus and the story in Persona 3. Or the hypnotism thing. I really think it's the hypnotism. The story of Persona 2 basically is about rumors that started around the city becoming true, and some of these have dire consequences. And I know that hasn't sold you, but you've got to play it. If I say anything else, if I reveal anything else, I'm spoiling it pretty badly, so I'm just gonna not say anything, and maybe I actually need to make a video on Persona 2, yeah. So if you guys want a video on Persona 2, let me know in the comment section down below. This was a game I wanted to play for so long, and you wouldn't believe how excited I was to finally get my hands on it. Yes, I know it's a silly dancey game, but you know, I really liked it because the controls looked great and a lot of the songs were really catchy. I wasn't disappointed at all when I finally got my hands on it, and after I got home after purchasing it, I kid you not, I was playing it until 3 AM. From like 2 PM till 3 AM. I guess I'm kind of a simp for hitting a button at the right time, which kind of makes sense because I also play 3 instruments. Oh yeah, there's a story in this game, and it's set not too long after the investigation team says farewell to Yu Narukami. And it's okay, I mean, honestly I didn't really pay too much attention to it because buttons on screen needing to be pressed at a certain time was just sending my dopamine levels through the roof. Yeah, there are probably things wrong with this title, but I'm too blindsided by the sheer amount of fun I had playing this game. I just can't notice them at the moment, and honestly, I don't ever want to. Not much else I can really say about Persona 4 Dancing All Night because the premise is really simple and the game is quite short. So remember all that fun I had with Persona 4 Dancing All Night? Just ramp it up about 1,000 times because the tracks in Persona 3 Dancing are my favorite, and I will keep vibing to this game until the day I die. I don't care that the story was kind of garbage, and it's really silly too. I just want to hit my buttons to these great tracks. Persona 4 released 2 years after the success of Persona 3, and along with its predecessor, made history itself. I had heard about Persona 4 over the years, and seeing as the easiest way for me to access it was on the PlayStation Vita, a console I wouldn't own until the end of 2015, it would remain elusive to me for a lot of my adolescent life. It wasn't until I managed to get a copy in 2017 that I would be able to play it, and this game changed the way I looked at my own life dramatically. In Persona 4, you take control of the protagonist Yu Narukami, who has been sent to the regional Japanese town of Inaba for a year to live with his uncle and younger cousin. Not everything about this town is normal though, as shortly after you arrive, a series of strange murders occur, which are eerily abnormal. It is up to you, along with the friends you make along the way, to get to the bottom of these strange occurrences in Inaba. These characters' struggle really resonated with me, and I quickly grew fond of them because of it. This also made me completely engrossed with the game. The gameplay was mostly okay, but the dungeons were a little bit lacking sometimes, and also the whole searching for information thing got on my nerves a couple of times, but the game was long enough for me to be able to move on from things and leave them as a distant memory. These faults are probably due to the game's age and the fact that it only came out not too long after Persona 3, to which, while they did improve upon mechanics that were introduced in the title, they didn't have much time to. The visuals were of course dated, but the soundtrack wasn't, and I'll be real, I like the soundtracks of all these games, so there will never be any complaints on that front. Overall, Persona 4 would be my favourite in the series if not for its gameplay issues, which are mostly due to how old the title is. Persona 5 released in the West in 2017 and broke a lot of records not only for the series, but for JRPGs as well. I got my hands on this title in the latter part of 2017 and I was totally blown away by it. I had never played anything like it before. Persona 5 has you take control of Ren Amamiya, A young high school student who is forced from his home after being framed for trying to save a woman from assault and is sent to Tokyo for a year and is put on probation. Ren is sent to high school at Shujin Academy, and it is there he gains access to a strange app which sends him to the cognitive world where people's negative thoughts and feelings become reality. It is here where he discovers the power of Persona, and he uses it to stop these twisted realities in order to change the hearts of their owners and save people in reality. Oh, and of course he makes friends along the way. Can't be a Persona game without making any friends. I personally played a lot of video games in my time, good, bad, and in between, but none blew me away like Persona 5, but some games have since. The amount of attention that the development team put into this game is absolutely insane, and you can really feel the efforts of their hard work pay off. The game is so smooth, the user interface is out of this world, the art style is amazing, the soundtrack really complements the atmosphere, the gameplay is simple to learn and really fluid, everything is explained really well, and the story is really engaging. It just hit the mark. Hard. And it's no wonder why people love this title. Persona 5 was honestly just great, and you've probably heard that 100 times before, and it's just really hard for me not to like the game that just felt so good to play. Okay, we're here at number 1, and I'm ready to be flamed, but my favorite game in this series is Persona 5 Strikers. Strikers took everything great about Persona 5 and made it more engaging for me by making it a Muso. I really like good Muso games, and this one is certainly one of them. Persona 5 Strikers is set not too long after Persona 5, where the cognitive world comes back with some new threats that you have to stop, but this time under the watchful eye of a police officer. I was initially pretty hesitant on the game because I played the demo and was disappointed by what I had played, but when I got my hands on the full game, everything changed. I had so much fun just beating things up, all while experiencing what made Persona 5 so great all over again. This collaboration between Atlus and Koei Tecmo really nailed it, and I hope that they'll do something like this again for other games in the series in the future. I can't really say much else without repeating what I said for Persona 5, so I guess I'll just leave it at that. Or maybe I could make more money by copy and paste. Wait. You leaving this in the video? So guys, this was the updated list of Persona games ranked. I hope you did enjoy listening to my ramblings on how much I both like and dislike some of these titles, even if my opinion is vastly different from your own. Now I know some of you guys might think I'm a loser, especially for ranking Persona 5 so highly and Persona 3 so low, but at the end of the day, I'm just a loser anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Thanks faithful viewers for making it this far in the video, and as always, don't forget to leave a like, comment telling me your opinions, and subscribe for more content. And my name is Raz Unleashed, the resident who updated her video and unleashed it out into the world, and I will catch you all next time.